I only know like one thing about Plymouth Rock, that we didn't land on Plymouth Rock.
It landed
Plymouth
on
Rock
us.
landed on us.
People are literally crying out with a smile on their face, thinking about committing suicide, sitting having a conversation with you, and they contemplating on how they gonna end their life there, because we're not listening.
Yeah, but when you're told every single day something's wrong with you,
You start to believe it.
you start to believe it.
And we love you too. Ain't nothing you can do about it.
That's right. And all the brothers and sisters said,
You damn right.
I love you.
You ready? Let's get it. Absolutely not. That's oh boy.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. This next episode explores topics relating to suicide and mental health. Viewer discretion is advised. If you or someone you know is struggling, please call or text the Suicide and Crisis Hotline 988.
Well, folks, thank you. And welcome back to another episode of That's How You Feel. As always, I'm one of your hosts. My name's Caleb Anthony. I'm joined with my other host. His name is Levi.
Hello, everybody.
I called you something on Sunday. I called you Levi Renee.
You did, which is my wife's middle name.
But, man,
So I was on the other side, and I answered to it because I
sure did.
because it's Caleb and he's dumb. But
Anyway,
you know,
as always, folks, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
actually, we won't. We actually have a very special guest on
sure
today.
do.
Her name is Cassandra Simington.
Simington.
Is it really Simington?
Simington.
Boy, so
It's Simington.
we don't really do. I mean, as we like to be prepared normally. This is a
You know, the
real-
whole time I've known you, I've always said Simington.
You never called me by my name, so that's
Not-
why
I
I
want-
probably didn't
What you be
call
calling her? You call her out her name all the time. Like, hey, yo.
Well, it's true. I don't come up to you and say your last name.
Mm-mm.
Normally, it's just Cassandra.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then we give a big hug. She gives amazing hugs.
Is it Miss Cassandra at least?
I mean,
So you just disrespectful to your elders. Okay. Well, folks, thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, comment. For those that share the podcast, thank you. Jay, Mariah, Avery. Who else has shared the podcast recently on Facebook that I'm forgetting?
I fell asleep in your long rambling.
So to those of you that have already shared the podcast, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I do.
I would like
I
to get
do.
back to introducing Miss Cassandra Simington.
Yes.
She is actually one of my lovely coworkers. So she works with me. We both work at the same hospice company, and she is a huge blessing to so many. She is a bereavement coordinator, counselor. But yeah, no, I've had the lovely opportunity of getting to meet her through work, and you've just been a blessing in my life. And I'm really excited. Today's topic is going to be a little bit heavier one, but I think it's a really important one because it is Suicide Awareness Month. And so we are going to touch on the topic of suicide today. And Miss Cassandra is going to speak on that a little bit here once we get to our topic. But I do want to jump into some comments from our previous episodes. So, Caleb, you want to read the comments?
I would love to read the comments if you give me your phone so I can do it. Pitiful. All right. So this comment comes from our communication episode, which has been quite popular. Kathy D1354. I think I said that right. Finally agree with Caleb. Pumpkin spice is overrated.
I'm
Thank
salty about that.
Don't be.
Do you like pumpkin spice?
Only during the holidays.
But like pumpkin spice lattes or anything like that? Do you like, or pumpkin spice flavored?
Not really.
No. Okay.
There you go.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. I love
I mean, I
pumpkin
like tea, the pumpkin spice tea, but I can only have one.
I've never had pumpkin spice tea.
They have some pods at the job in Kansas.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll have to go to our Kansas office and have some pumpkin spice tea. Look at that. Anyways, Kathy, I'm salty about that comment because pumpkin
Is
spice.
that from Kathy? Kathy, my nemesis?
Yes.
Okay, that's what's up. What's up, Kathy? This next comment comes from Jenny Siebert. I appreciated Charles's advice in clarifying what a person needs from a conversation. Do you need a fix? Do you need to just vent? Or do you need a hug? Always a good thing to do is clarify, like, if you're talking.
That comes from my cousin Jenny. And I thought that was really good. And actually, we were talking before Caleb got here because he was running late, you know.
I spilled chicken on my shoe. I was gonna be on time until I spilled chicken.
I saw what time you left your house.
I was sitting in. Never mind. We ain't gonna get into it.
Anyways, but Charles on our communication episode had kind of talked about when someone needs to vent, kind of asking them ahead of time, okay, do you want advice? Do you just need a hug? I just need to hear you out? And you were kind of talking about situation with people, and that's kind of like you'd give them 3 options of like, do you need this, this, or this? And so I thought that was a really good point. I think that's something I'm going to try to adapt in my own life, just because I think it's really good advice.
I agree with you.
So.
Always good advice. From our Harry Potter episode, Miss Abby Stark says, nothing about the Fantastic Beasts movies and books. Disappointed.
I realized when she said that we didn't talk anything about those.
Well, to true Harry Potter fans, they don't really count. Those are kind of like,
yeah.
But I agree with you. Maybe we'll do an episode on those. We'll do the Fantastic Beasts movies.
Well,
but
and I hate Abby. I'm sorry, but I have not watched all of the Fantastic Beasts movies.
It's okay.
But it was mine and my wife's first date. Is to see Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. That was our first date. I tripped up the stairs in the movie theater. Yep, she still fell in love with me. I don't know. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna go to our question of the day segment. Question of the day.
No.
I was watching a TikTok, and it was one of those. I was this year's old when I found out this, yada yada. Okay. So it was in regards to Plymouth Rock. Have you guys ever been to Plymouth Rock or like seen it or anything?
I only know like one thing about Plymouth Rock.
What about you?
I'm with him.
What do you know about Plymouth Rock?
That we didn't land on Plymouth Rock.
It landed
Plymouth
on
Rock
us.
landed on us.
we are here.
Levi, I got $100 cash for you if you can tell me what that's from. I got hold on, but you think I'm playing? I got $100 cash for you.
Friday? I only say that because that's the movie you always quote.
No, it was. But
what movie? What's that from?
Malcolm X.
Oh, okay. That's with
That
Denzel,
was
right?
It is with Denzel, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
please put that image in.
I have a question.
Speech.
When you think of Plymouth Rock, what do you envision it to look like?
A big rock.
Like
a very large rock.
I envision it looking like a city, like nothing like a desolate place, like
a boulder.
almost like the desert.
Okay.
Just rocky and nothing.
Well, I'm going to show you. This is Plymouth Rock. That's the big attraction that you go to when you see Plymouth Rock.
I mean, I thought it would be more rocky, but that's about it.
But literally, it's in this little box, and you just go look, and it's just this rock down there.
Okay, I guess.
Gripping entertainment.
I guess people go to see anything then.
Right? Could you imagine?
I got a rock look just like that in my garden. If you want to pay me to come by and see it, I stay at least something. You saw?
She's gonna have a little drive-by at her house.
Oh my!
You know what? I hope your relatives are like, "Hey, y'all, we're gonna take a trip this year. We're going to see Plymouth Rock." You're like,
and it's at least something. We gonna come back. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? You should get a rock and call it Cassandra's Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
I'm just put like digits on it.
Right.
I was really shocked because I was like, "That's what Plymouth Rock is." Anyways. So I thought it was funny when I saw it on TikTok. I had to share it. So now we're gonna have one local here in Lee Summit.
Mm.
Yes. It sure is.
Cassandra's like, "I'd make me some money." Got me a new business.
Julie, don't laugh at that. That's not funny.
When I saw that photo, I died laughing.
Pitiful.
Yeah.
I would like a size comparison. Like, how big is that rock? Like, is it literally like? Is it like? The size
I think
of
it's literally about like this big.
Oh, okay.
Like you could probably lift it up.
I'm gonna need you to go ahead and fact check the diameters and dimensions of that rock so we can just see. How many dogs big is it?
How many dogs big? Are we talking chihuahuas? We talking like
how many
chihuahuas?
How many chihuahuas big is that rock?
Anyways.
I'd like to know how many dogs big it is.
Next question. Have you ever walked out of a movie theater without finishing the movie?
No. Well, I had to once when I was younger because I was with my dad. So my dad, It was me, my girlfriend at the time, I believe, and my dad, and and a lady he was friendly with. They had bought tickets to go see Rent, the musical. It was like a live, the movie Rent came out. And my dad did not know what it was about. And
He did not know.
the preview was just like a bunch of people singing. And so he was like, oh, I'm going to go see this for the singing. Because like, you know, I think Taye Diggs is in it. Mm-hmm. You know, he apparently can sing. And so my dad was very excited to go see this. And
I
so,
actually don't think he sang in that movie.
I think he did. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, he bought the tickets. We're, you know, the four of us are in the theater. And like early on, like you can tell, oh, this movie has gay people in it. And my dad looked at the girl he was friends with. He was like, nope. And they got up and walked out. I'm like 15, 16 years old. So I'm just like, Dad, I think we're leaving. So my girl had to get up and walk out. And he was furious that they would put gay people on screen. He was like, how they should have said something in the trailer. And I was like, what are we mad about? What's going on here? I didn't know what was going on, but my dad was upset. And so was the girl he was with too. Like they were both mad that there were.
Have you seen it since?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
It's still not a good. It's not a good movie, but you know, I did watch it because
Okay, next.
a girl I was dating was heavy into that musical, so I watched it several times.
What about you? Have you ever like not finished a movie that you went and saw to the theater? No.
I've fallen asleep in movies though.
Oh yeah, that's why I can't go to like late night premieres anymore.
I caught a matinee and was out.
Well, that's you got problems.
Not a matinee.
I was in the matinee of Mario Brothers. Just out.
What's funny is I could see that.
I went to Chick-fil-A right before.
Oh, and that did it.
ate,
So
and
you ate before you went to
Oh,
a
yeah.
movie where the lights are completely off.
I was out before the movie even started. I was out with the previews. I went back and did it. I went back the next day and I was like, all right, let me do it again. I got good sleep that night and went back, did it again.
Were you with anybody?
By myself.
Could you imagine the little kids running around? Just some guy snoring up in here.
I have fallen asleep 3 times in the movie theater in the past 2 years.
I mean, yeah, you are getting old. You actually have a birthday coming up. By the time this
Who
episode
cares?
airs, it's already past. I do. But his birthday's Wednesday. So,
Oh, we're happy.
yeah. So, it actually,
Pre-birthday.
Thank you.
yeah, there you go. He's officially, I think, 49?
I don't know how old I'm gonna be.
I'm just kidding. I've never not finished a movie either. There was the only thing that came to mind when I saw this question is there was one time it was this movie I think called Unfriended. It was like a scary movie.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my friend watched it the whole way through, and it was a terrible movie. And so we get to the end, and he's like, "That's it." He said, "We're going to get a refund," and I was like, "What? No, we don't." But we went up to the people and he was like, that was the worst movie I've ever seen. Like, I would really appreciate it. They gave us 2 free movie tickets to
That
go.
was the movie where if you unfriended the person,
Like
you
the
die
guy,
or something.
yeah.
Somebody come, yeah.
Yeah, it was
The previews should have told you not to go see that.
It's true. It was real. I was young and dumb. We'll count it to that.
Okay.
So,
I just remembered I have walked out of movie theaters before.
oh, now you remember. Okay.
No, because it wasn't because. Oh, gosh, how do I say this in the most PG way? The girl I was dating at the time, we had. Yeah, never mind. I can't do it. There's no way I can do it.
Well, listen. If you finish it with "we had," oh, never mind. I can't do it.
I've walked out of theaters before. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Go on to the next thing. Let's go. I can't do it. There's no way I can do it.
You're going to have a question next week about the question.
Hey, you catch me on the street, I'll tell anybody the story, but I can't.
Do you have the notes pulled up?
I sure do. What's
Okay,
up?
just making sure. You ask the next question.
What's the strangest thing you've ever bought off Amazon? Wart stick.
What?
A war stick. Oh my God.
Like to get rid of warts?
Yeah.
First, it was the chicken on the shoe. We didn't expect that it was the wart stick.
Wart stick. I had a wart. I don't know what happened to me, But last year I got 2 warts on my finger, and that's what. And I looked it up. I was like, oh, and I was like, this can happen. They don't know how it happens, but sometimes you just get warts on your finger. And I was like, how do you get rid of it? And I Googled, and then someone said wart stick, and so it literally looks like chapstick, and like there's like a warning label that says, do not keep this near your chapstick, because it literally eats the skin. It'll eat the skin
You didn't
away.
put it on your lips, did you?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
never did. But like it looks like a stick of chapstick. Like it's that small, and like I had to like apply it. I'm like when I was you would see me like with Band-Aids on my fingers for like a couple weeks.
Totally remember that from a couple years ago.
Anyway, so yeah, there were 2 warts, and I had to like use it for like almost like a month or 2 until like the warts were like completely gone. But wart stick. That's kind of the
Interesting. Okay.
strangest thing I've ever bought off Amazon.
I've never bought a wart stick off Amazon.
Me neither.
You got anything strange you can think of?
I shop on Amazon every week. So, I mean, some of the stuff don't look like they say it's going to look.
Oh, that's true.
Like,
So we got, if you could tell, we have a new set on our we have
I'm loving these chairs, by the way.
a new setup on our set. I don't know how to say that.
Set design.
Set design. So these chairs are actually from Amazon, and I was very like when we were talking about trying to figure out what chairs, I was so worried because there's sometimes you order something and it's like 10 times like teeny tiny. I remember Walmart one time we ordered I know we're going on a tangent now, but we ordered patio furniture. We were so excited. It came in. It might as well have been a kid's table.
mm-hmm.
So we had to unpack, put it back up, take it back. Yeah. So this question for me, my wife is probably going to agree with my answer. She probably already got it in her head. But I don't think it was strange. I loved this thing. She hated it. She made me get rid of it. It was a bed for your sponges. So for the kitchen sink, it was this little plastic. It looked like a bed, and you put your dish sponge on it. And so it was a sponge bed. The glares.
Yeah, I would not have told people that. I would have not told people.
I'm proud. Listen, I thought it was the coolest thing because it was even had little pillows for the sponge.
Okay.
You want me to get you one?
No, thank you.
You sure?
I have a dishwasher. I don't not hand
Well, I
wash.
did too. It was more for just the aesthetic.
Oh, no, no, thank you. But
So,
I appreciate
so
it.
you guys verified that was a strange thing to buy.
Yeah,
I
very
mean,
strange.
I've bought dumber things. I bought some expired tortillas. I didn't know they were expired. I'll say that. Like I bought tortillas on. You can buy food on Amazon.
And it came expired?
Yeah, like I ordered them like last week, and I just happened to look at the packaging, and it was like, it said sell or use by July 2024, and I'm like, what month are we in right now? Hold on. Hey, now, come on. So,
Did you get
my
a
God.
refund or anything?
do you know how hard it is to try to send back food to Amazon? Because you try to like click return, and then like
They
we
want
don't.
that back?
No, they say this item is not returnable, and it's like, do you want to add to your cart? I'm like, no, I want. And so I had to like, you got to really try to find like customer service on Amazon.
And it was tortillas, so you probably...
It was it was 3 packs of 8, so I got 24 expired tortillas.
Well,
I ate it. I've eaten 8 of them already before I figured it out. I'm gonna keep going too. I'm gonna just see what happens. I'm not gonna toss them out. Ain't no mold on them.
Experiment, I guess. I get it.
That chicken I spilled on the floor seat on the floor of my car, I picked up a good amount and ate it still right off the floor of my car.
You keep a clean car though.
No, I usually do. It's been a minute since I've like washed the inside of my because I got like those all weather rugs or mats, those vinyl ones that are like hard plastic.
Did you have a couple like fuzz balls while you were?
No. But like I picked up some of these chickens and was eating. I was like, this is dangerous.
Picked up some of these chickens. I was eating them.
They go into expired tortillas, so you might as well
You
live dangerous.
put them all together.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Just that's how I'm living my life. You know what I'm saying?
We hear it.
Let's get to why Miss Cassandra's here, though. You know?
Yeah, so let's move on to our topic. So you actually had stopped me in the office about possibly coming on to talk about this, and I thought it was a really good idea because September is Suicide Awareness Month, and I think there can definitely be a deeper conversation. Also, want to give you the opportunity here in a minute to kind of share your story with suicide in your life and how that's impacted you. So I did want to share a couple of statistics. So I had found on the CDC website. This is based off to 2022 because that was the most current data they had from this. But it said over 49,000 people died in suicide by 2022, which is one death every 11 minutes, which is kind of wild if you think about it. And then many adults think about suicide or attempting suicide. 13.2 million seriously thought about suicide, 3.8 million made a plan, and 1.6 million attempted suicide. Suicide rates have increased 37% between 2000 and 2018. For a couple of years, they actually decreased 5% between 2018 and 2020. However, rates have now returned to their peak as of 2022, which I was like looking at the statistics of it just because there are, and if you look on the CDC's website, it breaks it down even more. But it is I know I've had multiple classmates I went to high school with. I've had family members. I've had friends who have committed suicide. It's a hard thing to process. It's a hard thing to understand, to grasp. And so when you had brought this opportunity to me, I thought it was you are so wise. You are very wise. And I think you are an amazing person to talk about it. So I'm going to let you kind of take over if you want, kind of go over your story, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I am a suicide survivor 3 times. The first time I was 13, and that was caused by being bullied. And I wore it really well. To this day, this is probably the first time a lot of people is hearing about it. My family didn't really know. My mom did not know. She passed, God rest her soul. My dad didn't know, God rest his soul. But when I was 13, my mom was a nurse, so I was able to get drugs, the pills. I took a whole bottle, which I should have died. But that was the first time I had a run-in with who I now know to be the Holy Spirit. Ministered to me all night long, would not let me sleep, would not let me go to sleep. And I got up. I can vaguely remember Spirit saying, "It's not your time. You got work to do." Not really understanding.
Yeah.
Got up, took a shower, went to school. That was that. That was the first time. Never told anybody, never shared it. Second time, I was about, I want to say 19, 18, somewhere around there. I got left at the altar on my wedding day. And a lot of times, the enemy will try to make you seem like, you shouldn't tell that. Or that. People going to laugh at you. Listen, laugh if you must. I survived.
And you have a story.
And I have a story to tell. And so I tried to run out in traffic with my wedding dress on. And my sister's husband, I told him I was coming on, so I said, "Can I say your name?" He said, "Yeah." So I got his permission. Terry, he tackled me in my wedding dress. And he held me down and he said, "You never let another person dictate how you gonna live or how you gonna die. He walks on the same earth as you walk on. So you live, that'll be your revenge. You live." And so I lived. And the third time was thinking I could do anything. You know how you think he saved me twice before. I'm invincible. Yeah. So I lived any kind of way, did anything I thought I was big enough to do. And so I was committing self-suicide. I was literally doing what could have killed me, what should have killed me. I was in predicaments, situations. I took things that I should have been dead a long time ago. But when I came to myself, that's in the Bible, when he came, the prodigal son, when he came to himself, he realized I could do, I got more going for me than I got going against me. And a lot of times, people would always ask me, when you were 13, what were you thinking? 13-year-olds don't have issues. And that's coming from a 24-year-old. A 24-year-old mind cannot comprehend, because you can better explain it as a 24-year-old. It's a 13-year-old mind you have to think about.
Yeah.
When it's 10-year-olds committing suicide, you have to look at it from a 10-year-old standpoint.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does sound foolish. It does sound like he don't have any problems, but you're looking at it from your experience in your life. And you have to really take time out to see and listen and understand that to them, to me, I was the deciding factor.
Right.
Everything happened and I was the commonality of everything. And so if I remove that commonality, things should be better, right? It didn't get better. I said the first time I succeeded, my oldest son wouldn't have been born. He's 34 now. The second time had I succeeded, my middle child wouldn't have been born. My son would have been here, but my middle daughter wouldn't have been here. The third time had I succeeded, my last daughter. And then I wouldn't have be able to experience 5 beautiful granddaughters. I wouldn't be able to experience being a pastor. I wouldn't be able to experience being a bereavement supervisor. I wouldn't be able to experience being able to say that I survived something that should have took me out.
Yeah.
And not be shamed. Shame is not my portion. It was a purpose for my pain. And if I can help anybody, I counsel a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people, young, old, middle aged. And what do we do? How do we? I think that we start by stop stigmatizing people.
Yeah.
Quit putting a label on people. Everybody that tried committing suicide does not have a mental disability.
Right.
I'm sorry. Does not. I was never diagnosed, and I've been to the doctor with any type of mental disability. Sometimes it's just you're in such a dark place that the positive is whispering and the negative is screaming.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best that I could describe it. It's almost like you're in this warehouse. It's a dark warehouse, and at the end of the warehouse, it's a light. The closer you get to that light, the further it goes. And it's nobody around that you can talk to. Nobody around it that you think you can talk to. And I think that if we start giving people an out, we start recognizing that it's okay to talk about it. I think that that's where we start at. And I think that we start in schools.
Yeah.
We start in school, elementary school. You got 10-year-olds committing suicide for being bullied. We need to start in schools.
Yeah.
We need to let them know that it's not as far-fetched as you think. You're not losing it. You're not crazy. Bully hurts. Being bullied hurts. It hurts to a point where you feel like the only thing that you can do is take your life. And that hurts. Now, looking back, being 50-something, being in my 50s.
Don't look a day past 30, though, so you got it going.
Glory to the Lamb of God tonight. I have a Facebook page that is called Try Life, the Moments After. God gave me that because there is moments after suicide if you don't succeed. And it's moments after suicide if you do succeed.
Yeah.
You just won't be able to experience those moments. So either way it go, life gonna go on.
Yeah.
With or without you. And a lot of times we feel like going on without us is the best way to go. So I asked God a long time ago, why? If this is what I want to do, why save me? Why not let me? They'll be all right. My family, my friend, they'll be all right. And he told me, he said, you're not getting rid of the pain, you're just transferring it.
Yeah, I think that's a good,
Like we don't see the after effects.
Because at that point you're not here to see it.
And we don't and at that point we don't care.
Yeah.
And it ain't that we don't love you. It ain't that we didn't do it or we didn't attempt to do it to try to hurt you. It ain't that we want it. Let me just say this. It ain't that we want to die. It's that we don't know how to live at that moment.
Yeah.
I think that best says it the most. It ain't that we really want to die. It's just that life is so hard that we don't know how to live.
You don't see any other way.
At that moment.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that we think can help us. Because when you try, if we was to tell you, that's the only thing we can control.
Yeah.
And so if we tell you, you take the last bit of control that we got. And we don't want that. We want to be able to control something. That's why when you try to commit suicide, you do it. And if you really want to do it, they'll never know.
Yeah, and say a lot of times people will ask you, or they'll question themselves like, how could I have not seen the signs? But typically they'll say they were so happy the day before.
Mm-hmm.
They had the biggest smile you would have never guessed. And I think what you said was kind of really powerful, is to bring attention to it. Is in society, I feel like there is a shame kind of over suicide. And so therefore people who are having talks about it, thoughts about it or anything, they don't even feel comfortable bringing it to maybe even their closest friend, because you don't want to say that to someone and them shame you back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how could you think about that? How could you do that? You talked about when you were 13. I really liked how you said you have to put yourself in a 13-year-old's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I've never thought about it that way. And I think that's really important, because no matter, it's easy to say, how could you, how would you, how should you? But you really do not know until you walk in someone else's shoes. Do you feel like, and I want to kind of preface on when you were 13, but growing up and even 19, do you feel like you had the resources to talk about mental health, or to help you deal with either the bullying or to get to that point where suicide became an option for you? Do you feel like the resources, or you were able to talk to anyone?
No. And I'm from Detroit. I'm from the hood. So, you either bully or be bullied. And so you don't talk about it. They don't give you resources. And if it was, I wasn't privy to it. My school wasn't privy to it. And I think that's another thing that I think that it should be part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
To talk about it. Let them know that they're not by themselves. And a lot of times, they're not going to talk to their close friends or the people. And if you really think about it, the counselors nowadays, some of them is probably like, especially high school counselors, they're probably like 5 years older than the high school person. So they're like, don't talk to this child about,
Yeah.
And so they don't feel comfortable enough. And then, even with our families and our friends, if we supposed to be the strong one, we supposed to do this and we supposed to be that. We don't want to tell. We don't want to disappoint them. So we're not going to tell you. So no, I did not have it. Had I wished I did. Yeah, I wish I. And let me just say this. I could have talked to my mom if I wanted to. I grew up with that relationship where you talk about whatever you need to talk about. Whatever issues you're having, you talk to me about it. You can. I have that. And I have that same relationship with my grown kids. It doesn't matter what you're doing, where you at in life. I love you. Let me walk with you through this.
Yeah.
I'd rather for you to tell me and I'm like, oh, than for you not to tell me and I'm like, oh, It's difference. And so I believe that I could have told my mom, but again, I grew up in where my mom had to work all the time. And I was the oldest one in the household, me and my two little brothers. So trying to just deal with life at that moment, when you turn 13 and you don't look like the other girls. I mean, I've always been pretty.
Why you point at me when you say that?
Oh, no.
No. Like rewind the clip back. She said when you turn 13 and you don't look like the other girls. She looked right at me.
No, I looked at you.
Hey, you either bully or you get bullied.
I wanted to know what I was saying was that, come on now.
Yes.
I mean, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You didn't have to look right at me.
Okay,
when
well,
you said
I
it.
mean, I couldn't look at his wife because she behind the camera. I would have looked
my
at her had she
God.
been sitting there.
Jeez.
You're directly in my viewpoint.
I
But,
felt attacked.
and then...
You'll get over it.
Yeah, and then they don't, I was the pretty one, but I didn't feel out like everybody else. You the pretty one, but you don't look like everybody else. And so I carried that for a long time and I had low self-esteem. I knew I was pretty, but then I was just like, okay, well then why that ain't good enough? And I was smart.
Yeah.
You know, so why that ain't? And so just growing up with a lot of pushbacks and where I grew up in and not having, and I always said this, not really having my dad in my household.
Yeah.
Because when my dad did come, people were scared to talk to me, you know? And so I was like, my daddy here, you know, I got a protector here.
That's right.
You know, and my mom didn't have to work as hard because we had 2 incomes now. But after that, she ended up having to work twice as hard, which means she had to be out the house.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and so I just think that if we learn to meet people where they're at, a lot of times people talk at you and not to you.
I think it's hard. I think it's hard for people, especially my experience is it's hard for adults to meet children where they're at. I don't know what happens in the transition from adolescence to adulthood to, I guess, mature adulthood, but we forget what it's like to be 13. We forget what it's like to be 8 and to like, even with something like kind of what we might think is silly as like middle schoolers saying they're in love and an adult goes, you don't know what love is.
Yeah.
But their experience and what they define as love, to them
That's love.
And those feelings are so valid, and parents are just like, you don't know what love is until you had to fight 3-4 times. But like, and I remember I had a conversation with my mother about, I believe it was a cousin or a relative, and they were young at like 15, they're teenagers, and she was like, oh, your cousin's depressed. I don't know what he got to be depressed for. He ain't nothing but 16. He ain't got nothing going on. I'm like, but and this conversation happened a long time ago. But when she was saying it, I was like, yeah, he's only 16. And to think about that conversation now, it makes I feel a little bad because I wasn't able to empathize with the thoughts and feelings of a 16-year-old at the time. And nor was my mother. You know, because in her mind, you 16, all you got is school to worry about. Like, how do you have real worries? But like the things that go through the mind of a 16-year-old person, the things that go through the mind of a 22-year-old person, they're so complex because they are still taking in so much input and trying to figure out where to put all these things and how to manage all these emotions. It's so tough. And adults, we forget what it's like to be 16. And it hurts my heart to hear the stories of like friends of mine that struggle with like anxiety and depression at such young ages, like high school ages. Like they're going through so much, and it hurts me to hear when they say, I can't talk to my parents about it because they don't understand, they don't get it, they don't listen. Because a lot of times parents just don't have the capacity to deal with the mental complexities of their children. And it's hard.
Well, and I think even when people say I'm bullied or I've been bullied, I think that gets brushed off too easily because I was bullied really heavily from 5th grade to 9th grade. And I mean, I felt like I didn't have hardly any friends. That would be a whole nother time. But the things that people say, kids that age are very cruel.
Yeah.
And if you do not fit into that circle, and sometimes those kids will say, why don't you just, kill yourself? I've heard
the world would be better without you.
That's one thing I want to do with my kids is always have that open conversation about bullying, making sure that they, I hear like what's going on with them, but I feel like we as a society need to do better somehow with our schools and bullying, because I do think that's what leads to a lot of younger suicide. You have the girls who don't fit in and then they're told they aren't pretty enough, or they're not cool enough, or they can't do this. You have the guys, same thing. They'll never be an athlete. They're dumb, or they're gay, or stuff like that. And when you get thrown at that every single day, you may not have a job. You may not have to be providing for kids and stuff. But when you're told every single day something's wrong with you,
you start to believe it.
And so I think that is something that I hope that society in general can really get better at stopping.
We have so much. The kids nowadays have so much. Everything is at their fingertips. Like, not only, back in the day, it used to be, you have to meet me face to face to bully me or go to school. Now it's online. Now, when they get home, not only can you leave it back then, you could have left it at school, but now it's on your computer, on your cell phone, on your iPad.
Yep.
And so a lot of times they have no outlet, and I'm like him. It hurts my heart to hear say I just can't talk to my parents about it. Yeah. I don't have nobody I can talk to. Why is that?
Just from my experience, I know that when I was bullied, I didn't want to talk to my mom because I didn't want her to say something to the school and then it get worse. Mm-hmm. I was afraid of it getting worse. Or I didn't want to hurt her. And there was shame in it. Mm-hmm. There was a shame that I was being bullied. Mm-hmm. I know. And I had told them when I think I was in 6th or 7th grade, but then it didn't stop. So after that, I didn't want to say a word until my youth pastor had told my mom what was going on at the school, and kind of brought attention to that. And so I know you shared your experience with how you were 3-time suicide survivor, and I kind of want to ask both of you guys as well. How has suicide impacted your life outside of that? Have you had friends or family that walked through that, or you've had to walk, them out of that darkness or anything like that?
I don't think I know anybody that committed suicide. I have friends of friends that have committed suicide, and even then it's like, wow, like, because how old am I? I'm like 30. I forget how old I am.
49.
I'm something. But I got friends that are young. They're in their 30s and 20s, and their friends are in their 30s and 20s, and they, feel like there's no other option. Mm-hmm. And it always leaves me dumbfounded. It leaves me hurting. It leaves me lamenting for these people, because I'm just like, what? Because I feel like, what could I have done? What like, you could have called me, but that's selfish of me thinking that I could have been the solution. I could have been like the savior. Mm-hmm. And that's a selfish thought to have. So I know that for the people that are in my life, if anybody comes across my mind, like if I think of anybody that I have their number, I have a way of contacting them, I try to text them immediately and say, hey, I just want you to know I love you. Because I don't know what they're going through. Mm-hmm. And usually it's like random people that I remember and like, oh, I haven't thought about this person in years or months or whatever. But if you come across my mind, I will do my best to try to text you and I'm like, hey, just want you to know I thought about you, I miss you, and I love you. Because maybe that might have been what they needed that day. I don't know, I'm not trying to do it to prevent them from doing that, but I just want people to know that they're loved and that I see you, and I'm glad you're here.
Not to get spiritual with it either, but sometimes God may be the one putting that person in your mind that day, and they may have needed that message. Yeah,
I try to do that. I Lord help me if I'm forgetting people in my life that have committed suicide, but I don't think I know anybody that has.
No, I know that my great-grandpa, when I was young, he had committed suicide. So that was kind of my first experience with it. And I've had lots of people I knew in high school. And, you look at them, and again, even when they were the same age, I was like, they had so much going. Like, I feel like I want to know what happened. And it may not have been someone I was necessarily friends with, but I knew well. But then again, part of me goes like, I wish I was their friend. But you're right. I mean, that's selfish of me to think that I could have been the one
to save them.
But obviously, I want to do more with that. But I want to. What about you?
I was in the Army, so I had a few soldiers that I was with that did want to.
Yeah.
And at the time, I'm just talking. God puts me in position to be able to show his goodness and his mercy and to provide grace without even knowing it. I wasn't no preacher back then. I just know that I'm the type of person that people come and talk to and share deep stuff with.
Yeah.
Like, it would literally come I had this one soldier come up to me and say, I am going to go to the mess hall, I'm going to eat, then I'm going to go and I'm going to cut my wrist. And walked away. And it was like two of us standing there, and the other person was like, "Oh, she played too much."
Yeah.
I don't. That to me, that's not playing. I followed her, and I talked to her, and she said, "This is what she said." She said, "I'm glad you recognize." Like he said, "I see you."
Yeah.
I'm glad you heard me. And a lot of times we don't hear people.
I was gonna say it's often some people that is their response. They brush it off like, oh, that they're not.
Yeah,
gonna.
they don't. We
But
don't
that's
hear.
their only opportunity to say, hey, I'm gonna do something, and that may be the only time they reach out, and you get the chance to stop it.
And a lot of times and I mean, it's not no fault to anybody because a lot of times people are too scared. Okay, what if I say the wrong thing and they do it anyway? Now it's my fault. Or what if I do this and then they do, So a lot of times it's like a two-edge.
Yeah.
You don't know. Should I say something? Shouldn't I say not something? And I'm always like this. If anybody say anything that has to do with harming themselves, and you know this in the profession we're in,
Yeah.
I'm listening. Okay, do you want to talk about that? Let's talk about that. Why did you use those words?
Yeah.
Let's explore why you said those words. I don't need to know anything else, but I just want to know why you said those words. Help me understand, because I'm listening for. I ain't got nowhere to go. Because a lot of times we in such a hurry up environment. We hurry up and
On to the next. Yeah.
people need to be heard. People are literally crying out with a smile on their face. People are literally thinking about committing suicide, sitting having a conversation with you, having dinner with you, drinking some wine with you, and they contemplating on how they gonna end their life because we're not listening.
Yeah.
We're so busy doing that we don't understand that we have to learn to sit and be. And I think that has gotten away from our society. We don't know how to just sit and really listen. Like I joke a lot when I tell people, I say, especially when I'm talking to my significant other and he'll be talking, and I'll be like, you didn't hear me. You're listening to respond and not listening to hear. And he was, you know what? I am. And he caught himself. And a lot of times we don't catch ourselves.
Yeah.
We waiting, like right now, when you're talking, and I'm like, okay, what I'm going to say when he say that? Let me see if I got let me see if I'm going to say, okay, we're listening to respond and we're not listening to hear. And a lot of times that gets us in more trouble than it gets us out of trouble. And so I think that a lot of times that we need to listen to hear and not listen to respond. Because a lot of times we want to tell you what you shouldn't do. Why would you do that to your mama and your daddy? Why would you hurt them like that? That's not the time to say that.
Yeah.
That's not the time to say that.
That brings more shame to it.
Now you're judging them. And now you're making them feel even worse.
Yeah.
I'm not here to make you, if I can't help you, I don't want to hinder you.
Yep.
That kind of ties into the next question.
Well, yeah, and so I do want to, and yes, but I was going to say, because this is really kind of pinpointing on the QPR training I had put in the notes. So are you familiar with QPR training? Have you heard of that before? It's called Question, Persuade, and Response, and Refer. Sorry. So I had went through a year where I had known of 5 people that committed suicide, and it just became very heavy on my heart.
Can we drink water on the podcast?
Oh yeah. Yes. But it's this training you can go through, and so it's kind of like CPR, like for cardiac arrests, you learn how to do CPR. So this is a suicide prevention. It's called QPR.
Okay.
So question, persuade, and refer. The reason why I'm bringing it up now is because with the question, it is those questions of more like, well, why would you say that? Like, for an example, are you thinking about hurting yourself? Not shaming them, but just asking them. Or I'm worried about you and would like to know if I could help. Have you been unhappy, or are you overwhelmed today? Then persuading them as far as, and it's not like you're just trying to you are trying to persuade them, but not in a good way. But it says, are you willing to get support from a counselor or someone else? Can I help you? How can I help you? And then referring them to whether that be the 988 line or whatever. And so it's I have started that training. I have not finished it yet, but that is one thing that I think is a really good resource out there. And I brought it up now because I liked what you were saying kind of about how people often hear to respond instead of hear to, listen. So listen to You
I
know,
you got it.
thank you.
got
But yeah, go on with the next question because it does lead into that.
We were going to ask, do you feel like suicide is selfish?
Depend on what point of view you want.
When I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
if you would have asked me when I was younger, I'd have said absolutely, it's a selfish thing. How could you do that to the people around you? That was how I thought younger. Now, I don't think it's selfish at all. Now, when I think about people that I know that have committed suicide, I think they really felt this was the last option, that they had exhausted all of their resources. And so I can't, the last thing I want to do is look at someone who has been hurting for that long and then say, and on top of that, now you're selfish. Like, so I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's selfish.
Yeah.
I've
To
heard
summarize.
I heard several people say that they think that act is selfish. And I say, you've never been in that place.
Mhm.
Until you're in that place, to me, I can't, that's like me speaking on murder or wanting to murder somebody. And I'm not saying that this is the same. Let me just say that I can't speak on that.
Like the feeling of
The
that.
feeling of
Yeah.
it, because I've never wanted to do that. Never had the urge to do it. Never wrote out a plan. None of that. But I don't think that it's, and this is my opinion. They asked for my opinion. This is Cassandra's opinion. It's not the CDC's opinion. It's not nobody. This is Cassandra's opinion. I don't feel like it's a selfish act. I feel like it's an act that you do when you want to have a temporary fix, not knowing it's going to be a permanent liability to those around you.
Yeah.
You're thinking that, okay, if it ends the pain for me, that's all that matters. Again, not knowing that it's just transferring the pain. And so a lot of times you don't think about that. You just think about, okay, I don't want to hurt no more. I don't want to feel this way no more. I still love you. Don't end my love for you. It's just I did not know how to express.
Yeah. Well, and you probably often feel like a burden to others as
Yeah.
well.
And if
It's
I'm
not
removed
just a
it,
burden to yourself, it's a burden to others.
and then if I, like you said with your parents, if I was to tell my mama back in the day what was going on, my mama was a fighter. She probably would have went up to the school, started beating up little kids, And I'm just being serious. My mama was a fighter. Like, she was in the military too. She probably would have went up to the
Which,
to the
thank you for your service, by the way.
She probably would have went up to
thank
the
you for your
school.
service.
She probably would have started beating up little kids, and then I'd have been like, oh my God, then I really would have had it, She
Yeah.
done beat up, then they families coming. Now we got a generational thing we got to beat up, My great-grandpa got to beat up their great-grandpa. Now, you know what I'm saying? Now
You got
my
a whole
kids,
family
my
fight.
kids still fighting stuff from, 20 years ago. So I didn't even, and you're right. I didn't want to tell my mom because I knew. I already knew.
You saw World War II
I already knew. My mama would have been, listen. And the people who know me know. They knew my mama. They didn't play. They knew my mama didn't play. And then I didn't want to tell my mama because I knew I didn't want her to feel like because she had to work and spend so much time away, that was the reason why things was happening to me.
Didn't want her to blame herself.
And,
Yeah.
the domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want that to happen. So I don't think it's a selfish act. Can it be viewed as a selfish act? Probably so.
Yeah.
From the outside looking in. You did this to me.
Yeah.
When actually we pointing the finger at ourselves. We doing this to me. What they say, you point one finger at me, the other 4 point back at you. We not looking at that one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We looking at, and so everybody has their own opinion. Again,
No,
this is
for
just
sure.
Cassandra's opinion. I didn't view it as a selfish act. I just viewed it as wanting to do something to take away the pain that I was feeling at that moment. And the voices, I told you this thing, the inner me was the worst enemy.
I like that, yeah.
And
I don't like, you know.
I know what you mean. So the inner me was louder, and the enemy was louder than the outer me, than those voices that were around me. Like, I can hear my mom saying, don't do that. Or if she knew, I love you. You got more. I can hear my sisters and brothers, all this. But then the enemy in it is like, yeah, no. So they're whispering, but what's on the inside of me is.
Yeah, screaming.
And so I can't decipher the voices. And it doesn't say I'm bipolar. It doesn't say I'm schizophrenic. It just means at that point, I had an altered mental state that finding that way out was the best way out for me.
Yeah.
Or I thought it was. But thank God he chose to save me.
I said thank God to that too.
For such a time as this.
No, I completely agree. I think it's definitely a twofold answer, because I know that if you never been in those shoes and you're looking at a family member that, you know, had committed suicide, that you can easily say how selfish of them. And I do feel like the person who did the act, they were not doing it with the intent to hurt. And I like what you had said about how you think it's getting rid of the pain, but really it's transferring the pain. And I think when you're in that mindset, you don't even see that. You know, all that has gone out the window because all the other thoughts are just pouring over that. I do want to know, for anyone that's struggling with mental health or the thought of suicide, what advice could you give them? I mean, I know there's resources. I know that, you know, we'll talk about the 988 hotline. I had mentioned QPR training for people to help. But on a personal level, what advice could you give to someone?
Find somebody and talk to them. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I mean, and I don't know, it might help, might not. You know how you keep diaries or you keep little books and your stuff in there? My stuff was in there. What I wanted to do was in that diary. And a lot of times, we don't want to, you know, that's their privacy. I'm finna see what you know what I'm saying? A lot of times, we want to say, well, no, that's their privacy. You ain't supposed to do that. My mama always told me, ain't no locked doors in her house. Until you pay for this house, you ain't locking no doors. You want a locked door, commit a crime, go to jail. They're going to lock you in. I'm just saying. Yeah. That's, you know, so no locked doors. And so
y'all laughing at this stuff, but like I've heard all these sayings before.
And that's why I'm looking at. That's why I keep looking at you, not because
not because you the girl.
No, not because you're the girl, but
like these sayings, everything you say is like it's like I'm watching y'all hear these things like for the first time, and I'm just like,
yep. I already know. I heard this before, but yeah, I would say try to find someone, you know, that you can talk to. And again, like the 988 number. A lot of times we do want to talk to people anonymously. We don't want nobody to know who we are, where we at, where they can find us. But try to find, and again, and that's why I think it's so important that we put some type of training in the schools to be able to let them know that you can find help with people that don't know you. You know, because a lot of times you don't want to talk to the counselor because the counselor is talking to everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, you never know if the counselor is clicking. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, I'm talking to you. He the counselor. I done told him all this stuff that you doing.
Oh, I know him too well. He shouldn't be a counselor.
And and now he talking to you about it. And him, unbeknownst to him, he telling you what I'm saying. And you know that I'm the only one could have said it because you know I'm the only person you did it to.
Right. Yep.
You know? And so now you created this big old, I knew you were talking to the counselor. You know, and sometimes if you can find somebody that you could talk to that don't know nobody, that you can confide in.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to getting training in schools.
Yeah.
And I mean, starting as 5th grade. Like if you got an 8-year-old committing suicide because they don't feel like they have anybody they can talk to. And I just read something today where the cheerleader of the high school that was just on America's Got Talent just killed herself today. They was on America's Got Talent, the whole thing, and they just found her. She committed suicide. And that's what I'm saying. You don't know what a person is going through. Yeah. You just think that everything is okay. And she probably didn't have nobody she could talk to.
Yeah.
You know, and not saying that she couldn't, because now everybody recognizes her. She got all these people. She, you know, you the face of something. No. And so I just think that a lot of times we need to make it to where having help does not cause any type of prejudgment, judgment, shame, or anything. And then the person you don't know you're talking to don't need to know who you're talking about, just need to be able to be there and talk to you and pull you through or pull you out or walk with you while you're walking through it. And I think that a lot of times we don't have those resources. It's easy for us to say call 988. But what if the person don't got a cell phone?
Yeah.
What if the person ain't around to call 988? And I think the greatest thing that the CDC did do was create the number just to be 3 digits, because that 1-800 number.
Yeah.
By the time you got done, and then press 1 if you're press 1. And even with veterans, when you call the veteran hospital, you just say press 1 if you're thinking about committing. Now listen here. Now, and I'm saying it as a joke, but I'm just saying if people.
No,
I think that if people understood that by dialing, that was a cry for help for one. If I'm sitting there waiting on the phone, and I'm press 1, and you on hold, that means I won't help. That's a cry for help.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I think that if we get a lot more resources out there,
yeah,
a lot more. And it ain't that we throwing suicide at people. It's that we need to uncover. We need to pull the Band-Aid off of this.
I agree. Yeah.
Because you don't want to see the sore, but the sore gonna still be there.
Well, and I think even community resources, you don't hear about them as much. You hear about the 988 number all the time.
Yeah.
And that is easy. It is, they have anonymous counselors on there that are ready to talk to you and available. But what about your community? What resources are available in your community?
And God bless the 1-800 people for the veterans. Hold on, I ain't saying nothing against y'all. We appreciate that line. Trust me, and I gave it to a few people, and they said you guys helped them. So I'm not bagging on y'all because I appreciate you being a veteran. Thank you very much. And I want you to say, I don't need nobody putting nothing on my lawn, talking about she shouldn't have did this. She shouldn't have said that. She demeaned the country, and I don't want. Listen, no,
not today.
Not today, because I'm still my mother's child.
I do want to.
Yeah.
Kayla, that's
what she said.
What she said. So I have known a couple of people who have lost, and this is more recently, a sibling or someone, family member, to suicide, and they often come to me, and they don't often just come to me, but like when I'm talking to them, the one thing I will hear them say is, I am angry, but I feel guilty about being angry. And I always talk them through it, and I tell them, you have to feel the feelings. I said, don't allow yourself to feel guilty for it. You're allowed to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
You're allowed to hurt. You're allowed to not understand. But if you feel guilty for not, for feeling that way, you're not going to work through it. But you have to give your time, your body, and yourself that grace to be able to feel those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, you are going through what, if you lose anybody to anything, suicide or anything, you're going to experience grief. So you're going to go through the steps of grief. Being angry is one of them. Or feeling shame or whatever you want to, feeling guilty for not being able to stop them, or like he said, or why didn't I know? Why didn't I see all that? And you have to give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Because again, we are master disguisers. If we don't want you to know, you will not know. If we don't want you to help, we're not going to ask for it.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against you. Like, we are silently crying, and it's not your fault. Your frequency is not tuned to that you don't understand, that you can't hear it. It's not the family member's fault. And maybe a few years ago, I actually apologized and saying for even thinking about, I am sorry. Because now I couldn't even fathom how my kids would have reacted had I succeeded. 1 or 2 or not even 3. And so I just think that people need to give themselves grace. And like you said, I think you need to feel what you're going to feel so that you can feel what you need to feel.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'd like to answer that question also, but You asked, what advice would I give to people who are having?
So like someone who's lost someone to suicide and they, they're going through the steps of like, I could have done more, or how did I miss the signs, or I'm angry.
That wasn't your question. Your question was, what advice would you give to someone that's struggling with the thoughts of like suicide? Are you changing the question now?
Oh, that was the last question, but yeah, go ahead.
he had put 2 questions back to back. I'm like, what? Wait a minute.
I'm sorry, I fell behind in class.
Oh, jeez.
So I guess I really want to answer the first one, and that's what advice would I give to people who are having negative thoughts? I have not had thoughts that negative to that degree where I felt like ending my life was the only option. I've not had those thoughts. I have had moments and days or weeks where I am feeling down or I'm feeling very sad. And what I've learned about myself in those times is that I always feel like there is no one I can talk to. And I have great friends. But in those moments, the thought is, I don't want to bother them. That's always the thought. It's not that I know they don't care. It's I don't want to bother them. Maybe they don't care. They don't have the time. They're at work right now. I don't want to be an inconvenience with whatever's going on in their day, because what I have right now is a cloud and their life seems really happy right now. So I don't want to disrupt. That's typically the thought that I have when I'm having those thoughts. And so if someone's going through a season of that where and the weight of their emotions is just piling on and they don't feel like they can do anything, I would say to people that are going through that, it takes an incredible amount of courage to pick up a phone and call somebody. It takes so much strength to do that. Mm-hmm. And if you can, that is such a powerful step.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what I would also say to people that are thinking like that is, you have friends that care so much about you and that would be honored if you called them. Like, I think a lot of times we have friends that we never really test our friendships. We never actually like give them the opportunity to show up and be present. And I feel like we will always celebrate with our friends, but we will mourn and cry by ourselves. And I feel like if we just really put those friendships to the test, you would be surprised. Nice. You would feel blessed. You would feel loved if you actually gave your friends the opportunity to love you when you need it the most. It takes so much strength, and you're probably already feeling like you have no strength left. But I would really encourage people to, if you can find the willpower to pick up a phone and call somebody, anybody, I guarantee you're not bothering them.
No, and I honestly feel like your friend would be honored. That the person on the phone would be honored to sit in that moment with you. To sit there with you.
It takes a lot of strength and a lot of courage to like test that and see, but I think that you would be surprised.
For me, like I deal with depression. I know you know this, and anxiety and stuff, and I've walked through a lot of things in my life. I've always had a very strong faith. In my mind, I'm saying that in my mind, suicide has never been an option. But I have been to a point before where, and I remember, I know my wife can speak on it, where it was a very dark moment. And it was not, like, the thought came in my mind. And I remember right then I had to freeze because I hadn't gotten to that darkness before. And that darkness wasn't saying, oh, this person's going to miss you. This person, it was saying they'd be so much better without you. And that's not the case. It's not. And I'm thankful, that I was able to talk with my wife, especially. My wife has been a huge rock in my life. But even if it wasn't her and my friends, definitely find someone. I am curious, and I kind of want to dive into this last question before we go into our weekly segment. How do you feel the topic of suicide should be brought up in a religious environment? Or
say
church?
It exists.
Or church.
Yeah, that's it. Uncover it.
Say it exists.
Put a spotlight on it.
I think that as terrible as suicide is, I think that it is it's a byproduct or a side effect of of a bigger issue that is also not being talked about, and that's mental wellness. That's mental health and just overall wellness. That's addressing depression, anxiety, and depressions. And I'm an idiot. Anxiety and depression are still, I feel, still very taboo in religious settings, in churches and whatnot, and in houses and homes. I feel like nobody wants to admit that they have anxiety or they have depression. And it's got to be hard for parents to say, my son struggles with anxiety and depression, because they feel personally responsible for the mental health and well-being of their child. And so it's kept under rugs. It's not talked about. The family doesn't know about it. I think that we need to be able to have more open and honest and dialogues about it.
Yeah.
And make it, we got to be able to talk about it, because if you find out, then you're able to love people in very specific ways when you know specific things that are going on.
Which is what we were called to do.
Yeah.
Is to love.
So like it would be so great if you're sitting in church and a preacher's like, hey, we're going to talk about anxiety today, and we're going to talk about depression, we're going to talk about suicide, because those are things that they're not talked about, because people just pray about it, throw the Bible at them, and it's like, okay, yeah, I am okay, but I still have this.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that God puts doctors, coaches, wellness people on the earth to help the, like, why aren't we talking about them?
Yeah.
So,
and we at my church, a shout out to Memorial Missionary Baptist Church, Larry B. Aiken and Pastor Olivia C.Q. Aiken, Apostle. Let me just say.
Oh my goodness. I have always joked about people having long church names and like rifling off the whole
mine's
thing.
is MCI, really. MCI. But
no, but
short.
then like you
she had the whole
rattled
pastor,
off like the pastor
Apostle
and his
Larry
credentials.
Aiken and Pastor Olivia C.Q. Aiken, because I'm gonna give a shout out to the two individuals, because they really do talk about stuff like that. They do have people come in and talk about mental health. We did have people come in and talk about suicide. We had a big conference on it. So we do have some churches doing it, but like you said, I think everybody needs to be talking about it, because if you want to deal with the whole person, that's part of dealing with the whole person.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't want people to think that because we love Jesus and we sip coffee with God, that we have any ideations in our head. That we want people to think that we perfect. There's only one perfect human being, and it's not me.
That's right.
Also,
I want to see Jesus, but I'm not Jesus.
Yeah.
Also, I think that the younger generation, like my generation and younger,
You ain't young. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So there's a younger generation that I am not in, that they are getting they are hip to mental health. But I think that the caveat is that we're all on, how I imagine is we're all on this train, and that the older generation is kind of pulling us back, going, there ain't nothing wrong with you. Once the older generation that maybe I'm in can stop shaming the younger generation, we can take leaps and bounds forward. Because the older generation, it was very much taboo, and it still is with older generations. And the younger generation is very hip to it, but we have to move as a unit. And if we want to see real change, we have to, like, everybody has to be on board.
No, I agree. And I think seeing the rise in people talking about mental health has been really cool, honestly, because it is more of a conversation nowadays. And I think when that first came out, it was some of the older, people were like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And I think it's even helping adapt. If you're on a train, picture each generation. This generation doesn't know what's going on back here. Well, now this generation says, oh, no, we're all going to come together. And so they're kind of bringing mental health, all around. And I think there definitely needs to be more resources, definitely in the church. Because I know growing up, suicide wasn't talked about. And it was shamed.
It was talked about. It just was behind closed doors.
Yes, and it was like fire and brimstone, like no, and but then when it happens in your life, you don't feel like you can go to the church, because
where's the help?
Yeah, where is the help? And so I really like that, and I know that Our church has done that a couple times where we've had a message on mental health and they've had some counselors up front for anyone that needed it. Things like that, or even providing resources. A lot of times, sometimes people will call a church first. Sometimes they're like, I need help. So yeah,
to be readily available to provide that without stigmatizing. And just know you don't have to be a member of the church to go
Right.
to the church to ask for help. Not ours. I don't know about. I'm not saying nobody else. I'm just saying
Yeah.
you don't have to be a member of the church if you think you need help, and if the church doors is open and you feel like
Definitely.
you can go, then like he said, find somebody, a friend. I have amazing friends now. Amazing friends. If I get so much as, we in hospice, so our weeks are very heavy.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of grief support groups, and it gets really heavy. And I have those friends that I can call and be like, listen, it's a heavy week. Let's talk about it. And I
Yeah.
think that when we can get to that point where somebody can come up to us and say, listen, it's a heavy day. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Learn how to ask them a question and pull it out without letting them know that you're pulling it out in such a graceful way. Like, how are you doing emotionally today? That question, how you doing today? That's broad.
Right.
But what if I say, how you doing emotionally? How you doing physically? You know what I'm saying?
My knees hurt.
That's what I'm saying. If you break it down, you're breaking it down to ask them, and you're asking them specific about specific parts of your day. How did your morning go? What about your afternoon? What about
it shows
3 o'clock?
that you care more about them because you're not just like, how are you? You're asking specifics.
I need to know exactly what's going on with your day. I want to make sure that I'm here and that I can. And I thank you and your counterpart.
My name is Caleb.
I knew it was a C. No, just playing.
So she said,
Caleb. I'm just playing, Caleb. I appreciate you guys for even doing this. This is amazing. So I pray that you guys just explode. Since I'm on the 30th episode.
That's right.
Listen, I need more questions. I need more likes. I need more dings. Whatever y'all got to do. Y'all need to do it.
That's right.
So we can let them know that this is much needed. A lot of times people don't want to talk about things like this. We make it.
You're
we
right.
want to make it.
I didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, we don't want to. We don't want. It's a heavy topic, but we don't want you to. We don't want you to think that you have to carry that alone. That's one of my favorite sayings before I stop talking. Is that I tell people when I got a rock therapy that I do, and with grief, and it's different size rocks.
Is it a Plymouth Rock?
No, it's not a Plymouth Rock. But it is one of the rocks at my It's rock therapy. I cannot with Caleb. I just cannot. See, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm dealing with. And it's pick up however you feel your grief is at that point, pick up that size rocks. And one time it was a big rock and this young lady couldn't pick it up. So I had everybody who was with her help her lift it up. And I needed her to feel the support that you don't have to carry it by yourself.
I like
and so that's what I want to leave with you guys. You don't have to carry if you're thinking about hurting yourself, you don't have to carry that burden by yourself. You have support. You are not alone. There is hope. There is moments after suicide. We do want to help you. We want you to live. We want to give you help. We want to listen, whatever we can do, because we want to make sure that you understand that you are valuable and you have a purpose and you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And God loves you so much, even if it don't feel like it. And we love you too. Ain't nothing you can do about it.
That's right. And all the brothers and sisters said,
You damn right.
I love you.
Oh, Lord. Well, I do want to appreciate you.
I'm sorry. Oh my goodness.
I do appreciate you coming out and, bringing light to this, because it is a heavy topic. And even though he said he didn't want to talk about it, he instantly said, let's get it, because it is something that needs to be talked about. And obviously with September being Suicide Awareness Month. It's definitely something that I think should be talked about. And so I appreciate you coming on and bringing many wise words. We're going to move on to what we call our weekly segment.
Okay.
It's called what, Caleb?
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
So it's where we talk about rants, praises, hot takes, kind of whatever we're feeling, and that's how we feel,
That's how we feel.
That's how we feel. So Caleb, what you got this week?
You ever be driving?
And drop chicken
And
up
drop
on your
chicken on your
shoes?
And then come to the podcast and ask for wipes
That is not
and
what I was
sit
gonna talk
before the
about.
podcast and wipe your shoes off.
That's right.
Okay.
You got Clorox wipes. We got baby wipes.
And then
Whatever.
say you're not going to wipe the shoes off. You're just going to get you a new pair. Okay.
Look, I'm blessed. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, what I was gonna say is, so
You walked into that one.
Yeah.
you ever be driving and there's a car in front of you, and like you're going home or you're going to somebody's house, and you just happen to become aware of the car in front of you, that they make a left turn, you make a left turn. They make a right turn, you make a right turn. They make another right turn, you make another. And like that happens to me not often, but like I'm like, I wonder if this person thinks I'm following
Yeah.
them, because like it happens.
You
so,
know they do, because you have done it before where you're like, this person's still behind me.
I notice it because I'm just like,
Yes.
am I being followed? Like it happens to me when I'm driving. It happened to me at a Target where I realized I was following like this person. Like we were literally like buying the same things. And
wow.
I saw this young woman scurry off. Like I saw her scurry off and I was like, maybe she has somewhere to go. I had already noticed I had been like kind of following her. And this is kind of when COVID was like in its heyday. And she scurries off, and then like a minute later, I hear an announcement. Attention shoppers, please make sure you keep 6 feet away from everybody. And I'm like, I was not that close to her. Did she get nervous and go tell somebody that she's being followed? Like, I really wasn't trying to, but hey, that just happened. That's crazy.
Caleb got called out at Target.
I was following a young woman in Target. I didn't mean to, though.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is crazy. Mine ain't that wild. I mean, I don't think so. I was just gonna talk about, how TikTok Shop always gets me, Caleb, right?
They got me like twice this week.
Did they? What'd you get?
I got some open ear earbuds.
You told us to buy that for your birthday.
I still want those. I didn't get those. I got another pair.
Good, we didn't buy them.
That's crazy. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I got some open ear earbuds, and then I got I bought a bodysuit for my wife.
Okay.
Oh, I was finna say
That's crazy.
that's crazy. Like for real, cray.
She's not gonna like it. I'm gonna wind up sending it back, but
Well, I bought a ice bath pod. Have you ever heard of ice baths?
Mm-hmm.
So they're really good for you physically, emotionally, a lot of things. But I bought a pod, an ice bath pod. It was on sale for $45. I thought it'd be too good to be true. But that thing, you know how you think it's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
But I got the XL because I was like, okay, let me just get the big one. And I did my first ice bath.
Was it?
It was, so it's funny. I did a lot of video. It's not funny. To me, it's funny. I watched a lot of videos that time, and they said when you get in there, you're going to panic, and it's a mental thing. You have to, breathe through it, but you're going to panic and you want to get out. As soon as I dropped in that water, I was like, I can't do this. In my mind, I'm just like, ooh. But then once that went away, it took about 30 seconds to a minute. It was the most peaceful I'd ever been. It was just sitting there in water and stillness. And yes, it was cold, but the coldness feeling went away.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, it was really cool. You want to try an ice bath sometime?
I would get my own. I'm not gonna hop in yours.
Well,
but
I mean, that's
Yeah,
fine.
that would be crazy. One size fits all, huh? I'm just saying that right there is crazy.
Yeah. Anyways, I would say you should try it sometime. Although, you know how much ice it takes to make an ice bath like cold enough?
Yeah, a lot.
couple trays. You just
So now I'm trying to figure
You
out.
put a couple trays.
No, I had bought a big bag of ice, my whole thing of ice in my fridge, and then 3 quick trip bags of ice, and it still wasn't enough.
So you need a lot of ice for that.
So I'm gonna find one of those things that cools your water down. So
I'm gonna try to get one of those.
it was honestly, and it inflates on top. It's real easy. I love it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, my crazy thing is when the GPS sent me to the wrong house today. And
You don't know about this.
Listen, I just hit map when he sent me on his address. And listen, the map lady sent me down the street and said I was at the house. I gets out thinking he got a lot of people at his house because there's a lot of cars. And I'm like, he must have more than just me on the podcast. Like, it was a lot of people, a lot of cars. I go up there and ring the doorbell, and this man opens the door, and he was just looking at me. I'm looking at him. We both astounded because we like, I'm like, and I know he probably like, he was trying to stand in the door because I was trying to look at his house to see if I saw Levi. To see if I saw Levi. And he doing like this, so I can't see it. I'm like, Levi? He was like, no Levi lives here. I said, and I said, well, wait a minute. I went back to the thing. Why it sent me to the wrong address, even though the right address is in my phone? He was like, it might be next door. It wasn't next door. So our house is down. I'm glad I didn't go next door. I would have made 2 trips knocking on people's door because I actually got out the car.
I'm mad you showed up to the wrong house, knocked on the door, opened the door. You said Levi, and you was like, why am I at the wrong? Like, why you ask him why you at the wrong house? Like he had anything to do with it?
Listen, like I thought maybe he knew Levi. So but he's a neighbor. If you come down my block and you come down because the GPS will send you at the corner of my block when you're trying to find my house. You go to that person's house, the gentleman's house. I'm not gonna say his name. You go to his house and you say, "Oh, I was looking for Cassandra." He'll tell you, "Okay, when she down there, she the one with the military flag sticking out on her." So we'll notice she in the military. She retired. That's her. She the one with the big old flag on and the rocks.
You can go visit Cassandra's rocks.
I do got a lot of rocks in my yard, though. I really do.
She gonna start. Hey, it's gonna be the new Plymouth Rock.
I do. I got a lot of big rocks. So that was crazy.
Yeah, let's just one more time. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Welcome.
We appreciate you being here, taking time out your Monday morning, evening. Thanks for watching.
It's evening. I did go to work today, so I wasn't here in the morning.
And I went to work today too, y'all.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys, folks, next week.
Bye, guys. Thanks.